Polbeth, a small community located just southwest of Livingstone, West Lothian, with a population of just over 2,000. It was once a shale oil mining village and home of the pioneering Scottish chemist James Paraffin Young. On the eastern edge of the village, a 33-acre site was once home to West Calder High School. In 2019, the old West Calder High School was demolished and is now a derelict site. The new West Calder High School can be found a mile away on the outskirts of the town of West Calder. The industrialist James Paraffin Young, who died in 1883, lived in Limefield House in Polbeth, and the 33-acre derelict site formed part of his extensive estate. In 1955, James Young's last living relative, his great-niece Alice Thom, bequeathed the entire estate to the local council for the betterment and the benefit of the Polbeth residents. A large part of the Limefield estate, including the Limefield house, was subsequently sold to a property developer, Ian Thibault. However, the 33-acre site is still owned by the West Lothian Council. So who was Paraffin Young? Our documentary team visited the Almond Valley Heritage Centre to find out more about the man who pioneered the Scottish shale oil industry.
In 1852 he moved back up to Scotland, and in 1855 he bought Limefield House in Polbeth, and he lived there for nearly 20 years, and he left it to his children and his grandchildren after that, and then he ended up retiring to Wemyss, and then he died in 1883. So James Young was regarded as a pioneer of his time. When he, Binney and Meldrum set up the works in Bathgate in 1851, that was actually the world's first oil refinery. And this was all done 9 years before the wells were mined in the USA as well. James Young had a really good connection with the 19th century explorer David Livingstone. They met in the 1830s. They both attended Anderson College in Glasgow, and they became lifelong friends. And it's believed that James Young actually helped to finance some of his trips abroad. So in 1871, when David Livingstone went missing, it's believed that James Young helped to finance the search mission. And when he died in 1873, Young then asked for his two manservants to help accompany the body back to Scotland, so that he could personally thank them for their service. The sycamore tree in the grounds of Limefield House that was planted by David Livingstone, and grafts of that in the 1970s were actually taken and planted around Livingstone itself, so that when the tree does eventually, when the end of its life is at the end of its life, then it will live on as well, which is a really, really lovely tribute.
Back at Polbeth, the think tank, a community new ideas group made up from local residents, held a series of meetings to consider the possible uses for the derelict land. The think tank discussions sparked the idea that rather than selling the 33-acre site to developers for housing, that a community-run solar farm would be much better use of the land. A solar farm could generate income to alleviate fuel poverty in Polbeth, and also create local jobs whilst at the same time protecting the local natural ecosystem. The think tank group then put together a project team to construct a feasibility study to present an outline plan to the West Lothian Council. The proposal included a formal request of ownership of the land to be transferred to the people of Polbeth. Peter Docherty, Director of Kingsway Electrical and member of the solar project, was able to share his expertise on how a solar farm could impact the area directly.
Can you introduce yourself and your role with the Polbeth Solar Farm project?
Sure, yeah. My name is Peter Docherty. I'm the owner and director of a company called Kingsway Electrical, and we're a leading provider of electrical services across the central belt of Scotland. My role in the project is to bring some technical expertise in terms of installing and delivering solar projects.
What are the benefits of solar energy?
Well, I guess there's two main issues that would resonate with people right now, and that is the cost of energy bills as well as environmental issues. And I think solar energy really helps to tackle both of these issues. With the cost of energy rising, solar energy is a kind of an easy and convenient and relatively inexpensive way of bringing renewable energy into homes and into businesses and into communities as a whole.
Sorry. What would be the potential impact of the possibilities for the immediate and the wider community for a solar farm to be sited in Polbeth?
So I think there are a number of great advantages to building a solar farm here in Polbeth. I think that energy traditionally has produced a lot of bad environmental effects. Solar goes some way to combating that and reducing the effect that energy production has on the environment, reduces our CO2 footprint. So overall, it really tackles the energy crisis, or the environmental crisis that we find ourselves in today. The second thing that it potentially brings in for the local community is jobs. So the construction of a large solar farm is going to need a lot of people. So it brings the opportunity for local people to be employed. And as a local employer, that really excites me. I can be working with local people and employing local people to build and construct this solar farm. The third thing that the solar farm can bring in is a revenue stream, which can be used for the local community. It can be used for projects, to fund projects by the local community, for the local community, to benefit them. It can be used to reduce energy bills for the local community. So it can bring a lot of financial benefit for a lot of homeowners within the local community. And fourthly, and by no means lastly, but the next thing that it can bring for the local community is education. I have a vision of seeing a centre of excellence for renewable energy here in West Lothian. The local council have already approved another large solar farm to be constructed, and construction could start next year on that, and that could power 7,000 homes. It's a very large solar farm, and so West Lothian can become a centre of excellence for renewable energy, and we can attract educational facilities. Local colleges can be involved. We can educate young people and upskill young people, and really bring a brighter future for so many people in the local community.
In the hands of the Polbeth community, the solar farm could become a catalyst for the community wealth building. Lynn Mollison, Development Officer from Development Trust Association Scotland, visited the site at Polbeth to inform and advise the project group on what rights and opportunities the residents had to pursue their wishes for the use of assets within their community.
Hi, thanks for inviting me here today to sunny Polbeth. My name's Lynn Mollison. I'm a Development Officer for DTAS, which is the Development Trust Association for Scotland. We represent active community members, 360 of them, active communities throughout Scotland. I work for the core team, but I've also worked for the Community Ownership Support Service, and I'm here today to have a look at your land that there is a community aspiration to make a use of. So one of the things that to think about are the rights that community groups have in Scotland, and Scotland is fortunate in having powerful legislation that allows communities like yours here in Polbeth to look around and say, could we make better use of this land and these assets that are around our community? Now, some of them will be publicly owned, so that means they're owned by the council. The majority will be owned by West Lothian Council if it's public, but that also takes in fire, police, all hospital, health, all the public bodies. And there is an act called the Community Empowerment Act that should be doing exactly what it says on the tin, empowering communities to look around and say, we could make better use of that. And if it is owned by the council, you can use Part 5 asset transfer of the Community Empowerment Act. It is a law, And it means that the council or the public body has to listen to a community that puts in an asset transfer request to say, this is what we would like to do with this land, and we believe that we should either be given the land or be allowed to buy it at below market value to do all these good things that would benefit our community. So that's one powerful law, Asset Transfer Community Empowerment Act. The other one is community right to buy, and that is usually used for privately owned land, but it basically means that the combination of these two things allows communities anywhere in Scotland to identify land and assets and say, we can make better use of this. The Scottish Government at the moment has a consultation on right now actually about the community wealth building. What does that mean? Because most of us don't regard our communities as wealthy, but there's actually a lot of hidden wealth in our communities. And the general flow with community wealth building is that communities make better use of their land, which we've already talked about, and that land can be used to grow jobs and businesses. So if you imagine that if communities can take over land like this, that they believe already belongs to them, that they've got a plan for, and that they can generate income, businesses, jobs, and that feeds in to an ecosystem, if you like, of keeping money in a local community. So community wealth building is all about working in partnership with the council, with other private and community and social enterprises to say, what could we do that would grow businesses here to keep more money in this area? So it might be something like having a laundry that feeds that supplies to St John's Hospital. It might be about developing, like the community wants to do here, a renewable source of energy to feed local businesses. In this cost of living crisis, all of these things are absolutely paramount. We need to grow food locally, we need to generate energy locally, and we need to create jobs locally. No one else will do it if we don't do it. And DTAS works with all of these anchor organisations, community anchors across Scotland that are already doing this. There's lots of examples. I work in the east coast of Scotland, and I've got lots of communities that are building housing in partnership with developers and with the council. They're building housing in order to bring affordable homes into their community. In rural Scotland, it was on the radio this morning that there's a crisis, there's plenty of jobs and nowhere to put the workers, nowhere that's affordable. So we have to address these things. Each community is different, and the community wealth building agenda is about saying, how can we create jobs, and how can we create businesses, and how can we own things here to maximise and keep the money in this community.
At a recent event at the Polbeth Community Hub, we spoke to local residents of the area to hear their opinion on the topic.
Hi, my name's Maura Glind. I work in Polbeth. I have strong links to the community, and I lived in Polbeth for a long time, and I still have family that live in Polbeth. And I think that the benefits of the solar panels and that being located here would help raise a lot of families in the community out of poverty, because it would provide jobs and apprenticeships who are working in conjunction with the local colleges, and it would give young people the opportunity to get into employment, and it would reduce fuel poverty, and in this current climate that's really important, and it also sort of helps promote environmental prospects as well, and I know that's sort of a focus for Scottish Government.
My name is Shannon Davis. I am a family link worker. I work in the community in Polbeth. I actually grew up here myself as well. During the current climate, with the cost of living crisis and everything else that's going on, I think an opportunity like this to open up for not only Polbeth but the wider community is so important and would help so many people and families in need.
I think I'm a great believer in connections. I think Polbeth has been forgotten about and its identity is quickly disappearing. I think Polbeth has got a very strong heritage and history. If we can help to show that history and help it grow, I think West Lothian can learn a lot from the history of Polbeth, but it can also inspire other areas of West Lothian. There's a huge housing development going on, which I fully support, mostly modern, expensive housing, but in that there's a danger of West Lothian losing its cultural heritage, its history.
The solar farm would generate enough energy to power 500 homes in Polbeth. Now this money that's getting made would be used to reduce all of our energy bills, which, as we know, is very worrying with what you're hearing in the news. There is also another option that we could sell some of the energy, if there's energy that isn't required, into perhaps the industrial estate, and that way that money could come back as a profit to Polbeth, where we could set up new projects that we chose. We carried out a consultation at the Gala Day, several Gala Days actually we've been at, you might have seen us, and unanimously it was, we don't want houses on that land, we want it to benefit Polbeth, we do not want any more houses built round about Polbeth.
Inspired by Paraffin Young and his legacy, the project team and the residents of Polbeth would like to join them in the journey from shale to solar. The installation of a solar field would provide low-cost, sustainable energy, and at a time of concern of the impact of climate change and the rising cost of living. It would contribute to the wealth of the community and the surrounding area, and potentially be a destination for those seeking to be inspired by best practice of community empowerment and solar energy. The installation of a solar field would provide low-cost, sustainable energy at a time of concern of the impact of climate change and the rising cost of living. The project would empower the people of Polbeth through the realisation of its wishes for the land. It would liberate those residents experiencing fuel poverty and offer training and employment opportunities for the local people. Whilst there is an appreciation of the need for additional houses in West Lothian, the selling off of this land, a community asset, to private developers would result in the loss of opportunities identified as a priority for the people and the planet.